Here we
You blew it! You blew it!
This man was a bona fide scrub.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, poor you.
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
stupid.
And welcome back to the Participation Trophy Podcast. What are we at? Episode 31. Back at it again, fellas. I'm excited about this one. Real excited. We got a whole segment on Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown.
The PTP squadron is back up in this thing as usual. Jamal A. What's good, big boss?
What up, man?
How you recovering from that one-man onslaught by Jason Tatum last night, though?
I went to sleep early.
Good. My man dropped a 50 bomb on the Wizards in the playoff qualifier. Go figure.
I'm so upset, and I'll tell you more later.
Of course you will. Zane Zadie, I see you, man. You watched the whole Wizards game coast to coast last night.
First time ever.
Motherfucker was live chatting the whole shit from Facebook last night. So I expect all the hot takes about Scott Brooks tonight, man.
I got plenty of hot takes.
I know you do. And speaking of hot takes, Neil DeLaw, the original Wizards insider. What you sipping on tonight, Neil?
Little Moscow Mule.
Moscow Mule.
What kind of vodka, though? That's the question.
You know what it is. It's the Peach New Amsterdam.
Oh. Not the AFC.
Didn't we talk about this last week, man?
Yeah.
We did.
I drank it last week, too.
I mean, slowly Neil's becoming an alcoholic, and I'm on my Kwame Brown shit, smoking the hookah during the fucking.
That's a nice little warm up to that. But check it. Hey, enough of the small talk because Kwame isn't the only exciting topic tonight. I got something even more exciting to start y'all off with. We have a special guest joining the building tonight. Might need a deep inhale for this introduction. He is a musician and music producer and songwriter. Like you've never heard, and I promise you that. And when he's not on the Pro Tools, he's performed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial arts, a Florida State alum and member of the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Go Knowles! He is a husband and girl dad. Dude is just an all-purpose human being, man. That's all I gotta say, man.
Jason does everything, dude.
He recycles.
Every fucking thing.
Cares about the environment. He's watched Seaspiracy 4 times.
Shuts down Russian cyber attacks, like builds canoes on his lunch breaks.
Y'all charity work, gives back to the community.
Man.
Fucking Renaissance, dude.
There you go. Hey, and what's more, man? He hails out of Brooklyn, USA, East New York to be exact.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Represent Brooklyn, but from Florida originally, born and raised, proud of the Florida.
You know what I mean? Definitely, man. Ladies and gents, let's give a warm welcome to Jason Minnis, aka ClassicBeatz. Jason, thank you for staying up late with us tonight, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm happy to be here. You know, I mean, first of all, like it's a pleasure to be with y'all. Shout out to my brothers of Phi Beta Sigma. You said Phi. I had to make sure to correct that.
Because he has trouble with that. He doesn't have player names.
I sat on that all day today, and I didn't check for my resources.
Bro, it won't slide because the bros gonna watch this and they ain't gonna be like, yo, bro, what's going on? So got to correct that. But no, so it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for all the love and accolades. I wish I could live up to that introduction. You know what I mean? I'm so regular.
Oh man, hey, listen. Hey, usually my routine for when the guys tell me that they've got a guest coming on is I do a full thorough investigation. Like I'm going to the courthouse, I'm checking your papers and shit. No, I'm fucking with you, man.
He's checking your files. He's checking everything.
Hey, but what
he's got wiretaps on your home and shit for like a week.
Hey,
he just finished watching The Wire. He put one up in there.
Well, there you go, right? That's what's up, man.
Hey, listen. Hey, I didn't do all that, but what I did do, man, was I did shuffle through your discography, which I think is fucking fantastic. I cannot wait to chop it up about your music a little bit later on in the segment. But why don't you go ahead and warm us up, man? Tell us where you come from, your upbringing, and all the things that influence you to do what you do.
Oh man, that's such an open-ended question, but I appreciate it. Yeah, like it's like okay, a long time ago, way back in 1981, a boy was born in South St. Petersburg, Florida. But like, I'm from Florida. You know, I was born and raised in South St. Petersburg, which is basically like a city that's adjacent to Tampa, Florida. So I say Tampa Bay area. I was raised there. Growing up. I grew up in a black church, and my mother and father are both Howard University alumni. So that should tell you. Should tell you that, yes, that should tell you the type of household I came up in. And so it was a good childhood. I came from a firmly middle class background, but from a young age, I would say that community service and civil rights activism was instilled in me from a young age. But also, we got into some, player shit too. Like I grew up like listening to heavy Chevys that had gold grills and used to like go to the beach and have a ball. So it was like I had a whole like really good mix of gumbo, and that started to express myself later on in life. You know what I mean? So that's what's up.
All right. So Abdullah mentioned earlier you spend a lot of time doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So how did you start? And it's actually funny because I was watching an interview at I think it was Dana White, and he was talking about when him and the Fertitta brothers first wanted to pursue UFC. They were like, all right, let's go get some jiu-jitsu lessons, right? Let's see what this shit's all about. And they were just blown away by it, right? And that was like the moment where they were like, all right, we got to get in this shit. So like, can you talk about how you got into that and just walk us through, how that's been going?
Yeah, that's very interesting. So I've been an athlete my entire life. Being from Florida, like football is king. So I played football from a young age, football, track, and I've been active my entire life. When I was in when I went to college at Florida State, I was actually on the judo team for a little bit. I was on the judo team for about like almost a year, and I actually competed and stuff like that. And as I got into, I kind of left the sports behind. I was working out still like up until my mid 30s. I was still working out like a football player, like lifting heavy weights and doing stuff. And, around 34, 35, I looked in the mirror. I'm like, damn, I'm getting kind of dad bodish. No disrespect to all dad bodish.
That's real, man. Yeah. That's real.
Yeah, I had that little. Yeah, I was like, yo, I'm looking kind of like, like
it's kind of smooth around the around the midsection.
Yeah, I'm looking kind of like, like I wasn't really feeling the way I was feeling, and it wasn't just like the physical, aspect of it. Like it was like mentally, like going to the gym and just lifting weights. And running was just monotonous. I mean, it just wasn't really challenging me, and I always like to be challenged. So originally I went to go do judo, but their jiu-jitsu and judo are very closely related, but they are kind of separate martial arts. They're very closely related. But like judo's stand up and jiu-jitsu is mostly on the ground. Judo is really hard on your body. You know what I mean? So judo is definitely a young man's game, because you're getting thrown, you're getting like tossed around, dozens and dozens of times every session. Jiu-jitsu is more like you're on the ground and stuff like that. And so I looked at a couple schools here. I made sure I wanted to find a black-owned school here in Brooklyn, which is called Brooklyn Martial Arts, where I train. And I walked in there and got my ass kicked, and it was like humbling. And I got my ass kicked by like a 110-pound white girl. Choked the shit out of me.
Shit.
Yeah, choked the shit out of me, bro. And it was like, you have this, and if you follow MMA, you hear people talk about it, Joe Rogan, like this ego of like, oh, whatever. But like, yeah, I thought, I done scrapped, I done been in my things, and getting choked out by the 110-pound white girl was like, yo, it's either you walk away and like, I don't want to deal with that, or it didn't happen. It's like, I need to learn this shit. And my reaction was, I need to learn this. And so that was about almost 4 years ago. Wow. I've been going consistently about 3-4 days a week for the past 4 years. It's done great things for my body as far as my losing weight, and but also I think what I like about jiu-jitsu is it keeps you mentally sharp too while you're practicing it. So that's how it's been going. It's been going great. I'm a blue belt now. Hopefully I'll get my purple belt soon one day and continue on to black belt. But it's really about getting the skills more than like actually belts and stuff, because it's a great thing, and I love traveling and going to different gyms and rolling with them there. So.
I was gonna mention that when you go on the road, I always see you linking up at somebody's gym and doing your thing even when you travel. So that's like real dedication, because when I'm out of town, I don't do shit.
Well, I mean, it's no different than like pickup ball. You know what I mean? Like, you go your ball, you go to the Y, wherever you at, just see who people are playing, and like, it's like a vibe, and everybody, you go play ball anywhere, it doesn't matter. It's still like a same vibe. Of course, the rules are different, but there's a vibe. It's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. It's like, I just go pick up, like get my gi and go, you know what I mean? So it's dope.
Sure.
How athletic were you before you picked up jiu-jitsu? Like, were you still working out in any way?
Yeah, I was still working out. I was still in good shape, but I was more of a. So right now I'm 6'3", I'm 225. Before I started jujitsu, I was 255. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I was a lot bigger, and I was
Right.
still a pretty good athlete, but my body was set up to do different stuff. I was like putting up like 350,
Right.
12, 15 times.
Pushing weight.
Yeah, pushing weight. That's what I was doing, and that kind of physical ability doesn't age well. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know,
Right.
like
Of
when you
course
get
not.
older, and my doctor was like, high blood pressure runs in my family, carrying all that extra weight and muscle on
Right.
your ligaments. It just doesn't age well. So I knew I needed to lean up, but I had
Yeah.
to find something to kind of keep me motivated to do that.
So like on a
I-
day-to-day basis, can you compare your functional strength from when you were weightlifting to when you're doing combat sports or jujitsu? Like, do you feel a difference in your joints and like strength of your bones, or
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, like day to day?
Absolutely. I think that, like, yeah, I can't, if you put me under a bench, I still lift and stuff occasionally now, but if you put me on a bench, and my bench is not nearly close to my max, but I think like I don't know if that's the right term, isometric or whatever, my grip
Yeah, yeah.
strength, the way I can like move certain aspects of my body is way better, and my flexibility too. It's like I'm much stronger in unnatural positions, you know what I mean, as
Right.
opposed to just being under a bench or under a leg press.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
It's more functional.
Yeah, more functional strength. And I
It's the shit
think
you
that
tell a girl in the bar, like, catch me in an unnatural position.
yo, the wife's not complaining either. The wife's not complaining either. She's not. She was real sketchy at first, but when she saw my body changing, she's like, oh. Okay, yeah.
You be putting her in the ankle lock.
Ankle lock. That's what's up. No, I mean, but I would say I like jujitsu so much. I gotten a bunch of my fraternity brothers to do it too. I had one fraternity brother who's already doing it, but I got like 5 or 6 of my other fraternity brothers who started it up, and it's like been like kind of like this, kind of like, just like you running ball or anything. We kind of like all check in with each other. We're all different states and stuff, but it's been probably one of the best decisions of my adult life. You know what I mean? As far as like deciding to pick up a martial art and stick with it and find something to keep me active and keep my brain engaged too. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So shifting focus to the NFL a little bit, you're obviously a long time Bucs fan, just got the Super Bowl, Florida State alum.
Yes. Oh God.
How is it like growing up, in such a football mecca almost?
Man.
And you're talking to a bunch of guys who, I don't know, Washington fan base ain't do much, Giants fan base ain't do much, Dolphins, Abdullah's always optimistic, but
historically the best team in Florida.
Dolphins, don't get me started on them. South Florida and Central Florida and North Florida, we hate each other. You know what I mean? I can't stand, because people.
I can't claim any of Florida. I just like the football team.
People exactly. People like, Jay, you a Miami Heat fan? I'm like, hell no, F the Heat. You know what I mean? F the Dolphins. I don't mess with them. Nah, man, that's a good question. I mean, where do I start? I mean, did I choose to be a Bucs fan? No, I was born into it. Like my daddy was a Bucs fan, so it's like I'm like one of those, like I was born into like
exactly
the suck. You know what I mean? And yeah, for most of my adult life and most of my childhood, it was not cool to be a Bucs fan, even in Florida, because in Florida, in Tampa, growing up, there's a lot of transplants. In the '90s, there's a lot of people from New York. Or a lot of transplants from New York in the Florida area. So when we would go to the Bucs games against the Giants, it would be like 4-1 Giants fans. Everybody wants to be from New York and whatever. This was Vinny Testaverde was our quarterback. We used to put bags on our head and chant Vinny the
Reggie Cobb. I can name all some mid-90s Bucs players. Hardy Nickerson.
Oh, Hardy
Nickerson.
Yeah. Martin Mayhew. Martin Mayhew was a Buccaneer.
Yeah.
Washington, GM or president?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I mean, and it was crazy because like it wasn't cool even like amongst people from Florida be Bucs fans. And like
they're all Dolphins fans.
Yeah, they're all anything else. Nobody wanted to be from, whatever. And part of that was like, I guess from our age group, I'm assuming we're around the same age, like, New York or the East Coast has such a large culture impact at the time. Everybody wanted to kind of be that. And so, and also the Bucs just sucked, man. They were racist too. They're racist. Well, the whole NFL is racist. They all racist, but the Bucs, especially like the way, the way they did, it was just a bad organization. But then Tony Dungy came through, and that kind of changed the momentum. But my dumb ass took him for granted. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, okay. This is a new lot. This is a new day. I met Warren Sapp. I met Warwick Dunn. They came to my high school. Like it was dope. And I'm like, yeah, this is a new day. And so, then obviously, Gruden got the championship, even though that was Tony Dungy's team. We all know it's Tony Dungy's team. We all know it's Dungy's team. Right. And then we fell off again for another 20 years. I was like, I thought that was this is just another dip that once you reach a certain, a team reaches a certain level, you're gonna be like good for a while. No, we fell off and we weren't good for years. I had a Josh Freeman. That head. Remember Josh Freeman, the dude with the MJ?
What a name. That's a hell of a name drop.
What about Josh Johnson?
Yeah, I had Johnson. I had
Rob Johnson too.
Like, bro.
Vincent Jackson. Like I had like
rest in peace.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of your quarterbacks after Brad Johnson, and I can't.
No, because we had a Frazier, what's his name? Not Frazier, Jeff Garcia.
Was there.
He was with us
Sean
for a
King.
little bit.
Sean King had a little shine.
And then we had Freeman, which that hyped me up because then we had Freeman, and then we had the young black dude who I think he's for the Redskins now. Who's the offensive coordinator. Raheem Morris, who was our coach.
Former.
Yeah.
Hey, I tell you what though, I think you and I, Jason and Jamal too, might be old enough to have all witnessed Steve DeBerg play quarterback.
Oh my god! Oh, these name drops, man.
That motherfucker. I think he retired when he was what 47, 48.
You guys.
Sean King, Brad Johnson, Chris Sims, Brian Greasy.
Oh God,
Bruce Gradkowski.
Just a bunch of aggressively mediocre quarterbacks.
Aggressively mediocre.
Here's my theory about the Bucks fan. You know what I mean? Basically, the people don't know the Glacier family owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Glacier family is the same family that owns the Manchester United.
I just heard about that the other day.
Over in the UK.
Yeah.
This is my theory. I can't prove it. What the Glaciers do is they basically use like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers franchise is like a farm franchise for sports management. Like come in here, fuck shit up, figure out how to do stuff. And then like when they get good enough, they'll go over to Manchester United and actually win.
It's like target practice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't have any like actual
That's hilarious.
data. Yeah,
I mean, we have some similar experiences in the Wizards. So
yeah.
Yes, we absolutely do. I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So being a Bucks fan, now it's like I'm conflicted because I ain't gonna lie. I stepped away from the NFL for a little bit. Obviously with Kaepernick's situation. I was like, also when I started getting involved in jiu-jitsu and other shit, like something had to give, and it was sports. Because you only have so much time, and so
3 to 4 times a day.
So like it was like my sports is what suffered as far as like me getting involved in another hobby. And so I stepped away, but I'm kind of back a little bit. But like having Tom Brady, win us a championship, like I hated that dude. I still do. Like I
remember when I was on Facebook when Brady got there, Jason was real like iffy about it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to commit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't want to commit.
I didn't. And then finally I was like, you know what? Like my boy, my line brother, my best friend hit me up and he was like, yo, Jay, like if anybody deserves to ride the wave of Brady to a championship, it's you. You know what I mean? Because you're the one who's been,
you've been committed. Yeah.
You've been committed. It's like, why are you going to walk away now? Yeah, through and through. And so, it's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still kind of like, I'm not going to say I'm 100% like, oh, I'm all in, but I'm still watching. I like the team we have. I like the teams that we have outside of Brady. I love our front four. I think they don't get enough love, with Domicon and all them cats, you know what I mean? But being a Bucks fan, especially here in New York, when I'm the only Bucks fan within like a 200-mile radius, anytime the Bucks did anything, I get 1,000 text messages, because I'm the only Bucks fan everybody knows. They know I'm a Bucks fan, so I get 1,000 text messages like, oh, I heard you. So I'm like, whatever.
Hey, yo, you heard they got 5 guys now in the stadium? That's just crazy.
Oh, shit. Yeah, man. So yeah, being a Bucks fan is a mixed bag. I'm also an Orlando Magic fan. I was at the very first game in 1989. Me and my mother.
Wow.
My mother was a
Oh shit, that's dope.
yeah,
That's dope.
yeah, like when Scott Stiles and Reggie.
Were you at the Scott Skiles 30 assist game?
I wasn't at that
Hey,
one, but I met him, Reggie Theus, and all these cats.
But, hey, you remember the fad in 91, 92 for the Orlando Magic? I was a Magic fan just because the Penny Shaq, Dennis Scott, Nick Anderson, like that core. Yeah, you could not root against that team, even as a Jordan fan, as a Bulls fan growing up. Like when they played the Magic, you were just kind of like, oh man, I want Penny to win too, or I want Shaq to win too. Even against Jordan.
I was at the game when Nick Anderson stole the ball from Jordan when he came back at 63.
I remember that. Yeah.
Like I was at that game. You know what I mean? It's crazy because my mom was an educator and school principal. So, it was crazy. Like she would take off work and she would pull me out of school like we're going to the Magic games. You know what I mean? Like we used to drive and it's like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. So it was commit. My mom. She was down for it. And then Florida State. I mean, that's just Florida State. That's just football. You know what I mean? Like the culture there is amazing. And this is the first time in the past like 5 or 8 years we've been bad because Florida State's been good my entire life.
Yeah.
So it's like, So it's like the opposite. It's like weird because Florida State was really good in the 90s and early 2000s and the Bucks were terrible. So I always had something. But now it's like the reverse. It's like, why can't everything fly, at the same level? But it is what it is.
Those early day Seminoles were awesome to watch. Peter, did you go to school with any of them? Like Peter Warwick?
Yeah, I know a couple.
Chris Winkie, those guys?
Well, actually, it's like funny. My it gets even deeper. So my cousin Marvin Minnis, Snoop Minnis, he played for Florida State. And he played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he played a couple years for me. He was on their championship team. My line brother, unfortunately, who passed away, he played for the Tennessee Titans and the Bucks. He was on their championship team. And so, because I know them, I got a chance to meet Peter. Actually, I was down in Florida for a reunion last year, right before the world shut down. I got a chance to meet Pete. He was just chilling. I was like, oh shit, Peter Work, what's up, bro? But like a lot of those guys, who's the Raven? Antoine Bolden, like real cool. I went to school with, he real cool dude. Like I used to chill with him. We used to chill parties together. Like a lot of these guys who were really well known, they were just like regular dudes on campus. Used to come to Sigma parties all the time. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Peter Workman, that was probably my favorite college football player.
Oh man, he was amazing.
Probably top three for sure. Top three favorite.
Oh yeah, he was.
His NFL career did not span out the way I wish it did, man.
But they did that. I forgot the name of that show, but they did a show they're talking about like he got injured or is something.
He did, yeah, he got injured. He got injured after 2 seasons in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and he like kind of like was never the same.
And then TJ Houshmandzadeh, blew up in camp. Took his job. Never the same after that, and then ended up in, I think, the Euro League and other leagues. But
Pete was.
I'm glad he had a great tenure.
He had a great tenure at Florida State, and like the thing about like Pete is like he's a real cool dude too. Like real, like he wasn't like even like when we were on campus. Of course, I was on campus when in that 2000 when we won the championship, and he was the most popular football player on the planet. Right. And I was like in a couple classes and he was cool as hell. He's like, hey, what's up? What's up? How y'all doing? It wasn't like, some Hollywood shit. He was real cool. So I always remember that. You know what I mean?
Lavernius Coles was on that team too. Remember?
That
was a sidekick.
Lavernius, former Washington Redskin.
Yeah, a lot of them cats. A lot of them cats was there. I'm trying to think who else, man. But I went to pretty much if they were somebody, we used to see them around and they were cool. You know what I mean? They were cool.
Sure.
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
So stepping off from sports for a second, man. Ever since we first connected, that's probably like 4 or 5 years ago now.
One of the best days of my life, man.
Oh.
No,
Man, let
seriously.
me tell you, man. Real quick, quick story time. I met Jason at we went to this basically outdoor. There's like a huge picnic in Governor's Island, New York, called South in the City. You had to take a ferry there, and we were the only people on. That was the only event going on the island, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was it. That was all.
So imagine Southern theme, so we all dress. I had like seersucker pants on and a fucking bandana, and you bring your own food. You weren't supposed to bring your own booze. We got caught with that, but that's another story. But yeah, just playing like trap music, Southern shit. That shit was so fucking fun, man.
Oh man,
so fun. But yeah, ever since I met Jason is I've always admired like how in touch you've been with your roots, and you explain you came up in a home where civil rights was important. I've seen you post about your grandfather and your mom, your family. and it all ties back to African diaspora, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of touch on how important that is to you. I mean, how did you come up being instilled with it, and how do you kind of play it out in your day to day?
Oh, that's crazy. It's a crazy transition talking from the Bucks to like Pan Africanism. That's a hell of a
Who
transition.
came up with these
Yeah,
questions?
we're like, y'all are wild, man. But yeah, before I go into that, yes, that South in the city. I'm not joking. That was one of the, I don't know if you check out that new Dave Chappelle podcast. It's pretty cool. Like I forgot what the name of it is.
I haven't peeped it yet. I know I've heard about it, but I haven't peeped it yet.
But he was saying like that's one of those days, like that's one of those memories I'm gonna have for the rest of my life, because it was just like everything was like perfect. I was with my wife. There's beautiful people around, black folks who were chilling, live music. I think I had the Moet bottle and I was drinking, and we got the photos, and me and you linking up. We were joking about sigmas and alphas, so it was good.
Sure.
But yeah, like as far as like my worldview, like it's weird. I didn't realize how much of it, most of it is because of like the household I grew up in. My grandfather was a civil rights activist and lawyer. My father and my uncle were all lawyers, all civil rights activists, and all Sigmas, and all Howard University graduates. So like it's a long legacy in my family. And so and my mother was an educator. So from a young age, like the ideas of community service and Black empowerment and Black nationalism was kind of like there. But for me, what really kicked off for me is like when I was about 14, 15 years old, we moved from South St. Petersburg, which is predominantly, minority, to a suburb, which is called Palm Harbor, which is about maybe 30 minutes north. It's majority white. So I went to an all white high school. My high school was white, like it was white. And
White like Bryce.
Yeah, like it was like, and this is the 90s, you know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, it really opened my eyes to like a lot of the things and a lot of the expectations. And because I had never really experienced, I experienced racism before, but it was like, when you're around people who look like you, it's not really a big deal. But when you're the only Black person, and people are coming up to you and treating you a certain way, it kind of flipped a switch in my mind. And then from there, also with my mother, obviously my mom had me reading like Audre Lorde and like, all this Black feminism work, as a 15-year-old kid. And so that kind of informed my consciousness. And, the combination of those things kind of help like fuel like my kind of worldview, which is Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism. And I believe in the economic, social, and political empowerment of Black communities. And my view is not just centered on African Americans, even though African Americans is my primary audience, because that's what I'm a member of, part of. I'm talking about these communities across the African diaspora, because rather if you're in East New York, Brooklyn, or rather if you're in Sao Paulo, Brazil, or rather if you're in Accra, Ghana, or rather if you're in Dakar, Senegal, or Brixton, South London, the flavor of white supremacy may be a little bit different, but it's still the same. It's still white supremacy. You know what I mean? And so I think that making those connections kind of has informed my worldview and informed my like kind of the way I view politics and the way I live my life, and the fact I have a Black ass family and a Black ass wife with a Black ass daughter, and moving forward. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the summation of it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And you're active in your community boards. Are you doing like kind of civic organizations and in the East New York kind of community?
Yeah. So like my primary thing is I'm part of the Homeowners Association here in East New York, which is really important because we're trying to improve Black home ownership here, or maintain Black home ownership here. Because East New York, Brooklyn has become one of the last bastions of Black home ownership in Brooklyn, because everywhere else is getting priced out because of gentrification. So I'm involved in that. I also do run a mentor program called the Sigma Beta Club through my fraternity of Phi Beta Sigma. I know Abdullah said Phi Beta Sigma. I'm like, what? And then I also serve on a couple of other boards for arts organizations, and I do a lot of mentoring and speaking to high school kids. So between that, my plate's pretty full.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely commend you for trying to keep a stronghold amongst the African diaspora and keeping that cultural identity alive. I can speak to it as an Afghan man. I'm from Afghanistan, and I've realized, and my biggest concern is this, even with, especially with having children, is the further we remove ourselves from previous generations, the easier it is to lose grip of culture. And I don't know how much you can relate to it, you know, with your community, but for us, it's a lot more fresh because the immigrants that came off the boat from Afghanistan were just, you know, 40 years removed as opposed to, you know, centuries removed. So for us, I can see the more we conform to, you know, American society and culture, American culture, the further we lose grip of where we came from. And it's up to that. It's bottom line is it's up to the diaspora to kind of keep that stronghold, keep the momentum moving, and keeping the culture alive through whatever means necessary: arts, entertainment, culture, reading, literature. So I definitely that aspect of you know what you do definitely resonates with me as well. And I hear it in your music. I wasn't lying when I said I was listening. I've been listening to it for the past 2 days.
So you're the one person listening. Okay, I saw my Spotify numbers
He's
rise
the
up.
views
He's
going up.
the guy.
It wasn't. That was somebody else, maybe. But I was on iTunes. I was on Apple Music actually.
Got you.
But either way, your new EP's dropping soon, May 29th. The first single, Fella's Flute, is available to stream now. I want you to take us back to where you started with music, how your culture kind of influenced you to create the music that you do, your choice of instruments. Just have at it, man. Let us know what's up.
Oh man, I appreciate it. So yeah, like, you know, music has always been a part of my life. And one of the things that I'm firmly rooted in the Black American experience, meaning I grew up in the church, you know what I mean? And so my grandmother was a church organist, and I used to sit at her, you know, feet during services. And so I grew up watching people catch the Holy Ghost and all this stuff. And so from there, you know, I started playing the saxophone at age 7 and started playing the piano about age 11. And, you know, if I had to choose one, I tell my kids this: my superpower is I'm not that smart. I'm not that, like, you know, whatever. My superpower is consistency. Usually when I start something, I stick with it. So like I still to this day, like I started playing piano at 11. I still to this day, like, go to piano lessons once a week. You know what I mean? I still try to practice, you know, a couple of hours a day. But yes, most of the music I played was classical music. One of the reasons why I moved to New York, I started producing, actually making beats and stuff around 2003, 2004. I specifically remember it was around College Dropout, because when Kanye came out, I was like, I could do this shit, you know, because my boys have always been like, yo, Jay, you should get in the beats. You already know music. I'm like, I don't know, man. But I remember when College Dropout came out, I'm like, I could do this shit. So actually, I was in grad school, and like my mom's, you know what I mean, my late mother, I was, you know, stressed out in grad school. I'm like, Mom's stressed out. She's like, I need a hobby, man. I needed something to do. I'm like, I'm thinking about buying a drum machine, but I ain't got no money. My mom was like, man, tell me how much is a drum machine? It was like, I got an MPC 2000 XL, and she bought it for me for $1,200 and had it shipped to my house, you know, the next day, you know what I mean? And so I started making shitty beats for a long time, you know what I mean? And but over time, when you stick with it, that's the thing, I stuck with it, and I started kind of getting better. Around 2005, 6, I had the idea of like, oh, I'm going to move to New York and become a producer like Timberland. You know what I mean? So I had used my day job as a software engineer. I'm like, okay, I'm going to moonlight as a software engineer, but I'm actually going to you know, be making beats. And so that's why I moved to New York initially. And I entered a couple of beat competitions, and I got my stuff got shopped to a couple of people, like, you know, now I'm dating myself, but like Papoose, T.I., a couple other people, other artists.
Yeah, that's our generation, right, Abdullah?
Yeah, yeah. It's like a couple of their, they didn't get the stuff, but their like management teams had showed interest in my work, you know what I mean? But nobody ever bit. And so like after a while, I just started making music for myself. You know, I was like F trying to like find, you know, whatever, what do I want to hear? And so that's when I started, like, you know, making music. And that's where, this is my 4th album. My first solo album was In Tele's Groove. My second one was Rumors of Royalty.
The Tele's Groove. Now let me tell you, man, that was the album I started listening to, and I noticed that those were mostly just instrumentals, not no vocals at all. I think, right?
Yeah. There's no vocals. Yeah.
I mean, dude, and that's why I want to talk about your choice of instruments, because you know what I noticed. It's a good number of instruments playing, but all subtly, just enough to create like this incredibly calming, soothing, audio. Where does that come from? Where how do you choose that to be the music that you want to?
It's weird, man. It's weird. You know, I'll tell you, my biggest influence musically, or I have two biggest influences. The romantic era of dead white guys, of classical pianists like Chopin, Liszt, Debussy, Rachmaninoff, all these guys between 1820 and 1890. That's the type of classical music I play. And then Organized Noise and Outkast. You know what I mean? Organized Noise and Outkast. That's why I said ATLiens is the greatest hip hop album of all time. I'll say that again for the podcast. But
it sounds like you've written a dissertation.
I know. If I ever did go back to grad school and get a PhD, I would do it like tie some way into doing that. But I think there's already somebody doing that. There's a lady called Red Clay Scholar. Check her out. She's like an Outkast like expert. But yeah, like, you know, Organized Noise, like the reason why I love their music so much as far as hip hop, when you listen to ATLiens, when you listen to Aquemini, they have this warm, organic feel. And I feel like they kind of reinfuse the Southern Black American soul back into hip hop, because I feel like the hip hop had become so mechanical and loop chopped and, you know, being raw and rugged. They infused, a lot of the Southern cats did that, but I think that Organized Noise really kind of did it in a unique way. And so a lot of my instrumentation and a lot of the way I make music is almost like, I almost think about like, what would Outkast do, or what would Dre 3000 or Organized Noise do? They're a huge influence on me. And then a lot of it comes out just like my natural my natural disposition. Like, as crazy as it is, man, I'm a pretty like laid back, chill dude. And so like when I listen to music, I want to just relax. I can make that trap hype shit. Yeah. I can make that trap hype shit too if somebody asks me to, but like a lot of times the music I want to make is just like, I just want to chill. You know what I mean? I just want to relax. You know what I mean? So that's why I chose that. Yeah, I want a vibe. A vibe. That's what it is, a vibe.
Organized did such good fucking compositions. I mean, I think we'll look back on Organized, man, 100 years from now and look at, not only, I mean, people know about Outkast, but you look back at artists like Joy and like Sleepy Steam and these motherfuckers put together shit that, again, I don't think people will appreciate just, you know, right here and now. I mean, true musicians, you know, got me way deep into Organized Noise, but the fact that the things they put together and they layer, and like you said, they put together fucking moods, you know, on albums. I don't think anybody else has ever done that, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think one of the things, I think Organized Noise is up there with me with Dilla. You know, it's like Dilla and Organized Noise. And the thing about Organized Noise, what Dilla did for drums is what Organized Noise did for like playing live instrumentation with samples. You know what I mean? Like when you listen to ATLiens, you know what I mean? There's samples in there, but there's live guitar, wah guitar,
there's fucking horn arrangements.
And it's like they added on top of the instrumentation to create this new sound. And we take that for granted now, but they were doing this in the 90s when it was all like rugged and raw and whatever. And I think that's just like so underappreciated. And you know, they have had a huge influence. Even now with my latest project coming out, you know, it's funny, the release date is May 29th, but since I'm an indie artist, you upload stuff and you have to just wait till it goes live. They say 3 to 5 days. So whatever it goes live, it goes live. It's not like I'm like, you know, signed to a label or anything. But so it's gonna be some time before.
It's like an Amazon shipment. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'll upload stuff. Sometimes it'll be there like, you know, the next day. Other days it'll be there like, you know, 3 or 4 days later. But it's gonna come out sometime next week. But yeah, like even with this latest project, Almost Senegal, like there's some samples in there that I use, but then I like to layer on top of it to make it new, as opposed to just, you know, looping a sample or chopping a sample to make, you know, to see what I can do to layer and build on top of it.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy you say that, because like you just brought up like I got big into classical music for a while, and I try to talk to people about classical music, which is tough because like how do people get there, right? Like you know, Rachmaninoff, Chopin, like the Nocturnes are some of my favorite stuff. You know,
look at it.
I'm just like, I get super excited because like when I got into that music, it was like things that I would put on when I had like major anxiety. I needed things to calm me down. I used to, you know, listen to Claire de Lune, you know, at work and just fucking mellow out and shit. Like, what got you, like, where did that rabbit hole begin to get you into classical music? Like, did you start with jazz or did you start with classical? Did you jump into jazz? There's a lot of jazz influence in your music, like Miles Davis, Coltrane. Because I noticed a lot of parallels, at least for me. Like, that's how my rabbit hole started. So can you speak on that?
Sure. Yeah. Like, it's interesting because the when I do my music, like people don't realize I don't do a good job of marketing my music. I actually put out a classical piano EP as well under my government name. You know what I mean? Where I play in Clair de Lune, Rachmaninoff, Debussy, Liszt. And I think that was purely from band because I was in the band a lot and we used to play a lot of we used to play a lot of John Philip Sousa and marching band stuff. And it was straight like kind of like corny marching band music, but I actually
Shit.
yeah, drumline shit. You know
Flight
what I
of the
mean?
Bumblebee.
Flight of the Bumblebee.
Right.
And it's like, and it's like, the thing is, I didn't. If I had went to a black high school, I would have got that black marching band experience. But I went to a white high school. It was weird because I was in the marching band and I played football. That's a whole other story. But
how'd you pull that off?
yeah. So basically, I would travel with them on competitions, but I wouldn't perform at the actual game because they do competitions too. Because marching band, they have the football season and they have the competition season. You know what I mean? And I only did that for 1 year, and then I was in the concert band. But but to your point, like what I did was that exposed me. Those 5-6 years I was in band in middle school and high school exposed me to this kind of like new world of like classical music. And I did see the threads because a lot of like jazz musicians, like one of my favorite jazz pianists, Art Tatum, he like bridged the vibe between classical and jazz. And I think the theory and the fusion is there. You know what I mean? Even like, you mentioned Clair de Lune, like Debussy is one of my favorite composers. And like he was the first one to start bringing out seventh and ninth chords in color and then getting away from just triads and kind of like block chords as far as in classical music. And so those kind of things kind of like melded together over time. But the thing is, like, if I never started producing my own music, I don't think I would have been able to express that. But it's like that has been marinating in my body, I guess, for a number of years. And then when I started producing music, that came out, and that's what comes out. You know what I mean? You make what you are, my guess. I don't know if that's a good answer, but whatever. It's an answer.
No.
I mean, it's an answer. You know what I mean? Shit.
So taking us into one of our last segments here, we'd like to just do like a rapid fire with all our guests.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Not too much pressure,
All right, here we go.
A few seconds, think it over.
All right. Let's get this popping.
So first off, who is your favorite Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time?
Leroy Selman.
Okay.
Yeah, I got his signed Hall of Fame autographed card. Wow. He is the nicest person you've ever met. And the thing is, he had a bunch of restaurants he gave back to the community. He actually stayed in Tampa. He passed away a couple years ago, but he was dope. He's my favorite Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. Next question is the artist that you'd most like to collab with right now. Now this question doesn't have Dead or Alive, so you can do either one, I guess.
Yeah, you do both.
Right
How about
now,
both?
sorry,
Yeah.
Okay, Dead or Alive.
Actually, I'm actually curious. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I'll do Alive first. Believe it or not, I would love to collaborate with Rick Ross.
Okay.
I would love to, because even though I make all this Pan-African, Black nationalism stuff, I'm still a producer at heart, and I know I can make some crazy shit. I mean, Rick Ross has the golden ear. I love his music.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I think
selection is crazy.
Yeah, his beat selection is crazy. So A, I know if he wants to work with me, that would be validation. But B, like it would I think I could do what the Justice League did, but in a different flavor. And ironically enough, Justice League, them cats, they're from Tampa as well. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're from Tampa.
Okay.
But I would love to work with him just to do a 4-song EP. I would love to work with Rick Ross. I mean, he's one of the people out there. Dead, man, that's a tough one, man. See, I'm trying not to do recency bias because I just said these names, but
fuck it, I love all those guys.
Fuck it. I mean, Pimp C.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
UGK earlier.
Yeah. And maybe because of recency bias, I'm pretty sure I can come up with somebody else. But Pimp C, I miss Pimp C. I was a huge Pimp C fan, and UGK fan, and yeah.
You know, it's funny because you're in New York, and you know the story about Pimp C when they got offered to do Big Pimpin'.
Yeah,
it was a whole big thing. He basically did not want to do it. He didn't want to water down their sound. Right? And he was a big Tupac fan, so he was in this what would Tupac do type of thing, and they had to really convince him to do the video shoot and do all that. So it would be a legendary collaboration in terms of, you know, he finally did do the collaboration with the New York artist, so it would be
it would like Pimp C was just like, I think also Pimp C, what people don't give him credit for, I mean, his flow was really dope, but he was a hell of a producer. People don't realize that he produced a lot of those things. He was playing the instruments and a lot of things. You know, he was like an artist. You know, of course, people know him as the, you know, Pimp C, you know, with the Pimp Cup, or whatever. But he was like, when you look behind it, he was like a real artist. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of overlooked a lot about you know, with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
in the spirit of what's in my cup, what is the price of Hennessy in Africa?
You got to start. You know, I had to put that in.
My man's drinking Incredible Hulk over there.
Oh my, yo,
Did you see that shit the other day?
Yeah. Oh my God. Man, you can't believe you said it. I don't even remember. Was it $2, $3?
It was $1, man. You had it. This motherfucker, video on Facebook. You in South Africa, right?
Yes. It was $1.
He was with his wife and excited, like, yo, they got Hennessy for $1. He kept saying that shit. They got Hennessy for $1. He's holding the cup up like a newborn baby, like, look, they got Hennessy for $1. The fucking camera's rotating around like they got Hennessy for $1. I mean, you gotta come down to Africa. They got Hennessy for $1.
Right now.
My shout out to my peoples Umpi and Tobago. They hooked me up when I was in South Africa, and they brought me to this free event. And they were selling Hennessy for $1, and you know, that's unheard of anywhere. And you know, I'm in Africa.
Like an actual life-size bottle of Hennessy.
No, it wasn't. No, it was just
about
like
a cup. But it was like they had like a Hennessy like table up, like a tent, like a promo event.
And it was like a promo event. It's like he's like, oh, just $1. You know what I mean? $1 for Hennessy, bro. Like, and I was just like, I didn't believe it. I went back. I told my wife, and my wife was excited, and we were excited, and we started like getting giddy, and like
both of y'all were holding cups up.
Yeah,
it was one of my favorite videos ever, dude. I laugh at that shit. Like
that's just funny because some of these places. I went to Carnival one time. Out there in by the Crossroads, right? Back in the like mid 2000s, they were selling
the
Party 151. Yeah,
wow.
Party 151,
which is now outlawed. That's shit banned, right?
$5. No, like minimal ice. Like they wanted to get you.
Oh yeah, them bullshit. Yeah. We can do a whole story on Hennessy price gouging, because I swear every time I go to the store, like I rarely buy it. I mean, you know, Juneteenth coming up, I might get a bottle. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta be charging like fucking $50-$60 for Henny. And I remember I was in Chicago a couple years ago. Yeah, they had that shit. Not only was it like locked away and shit, but the price was out of this world. So yeah, you come up on $1 Hennessy, you made it.
You made it. And it was just the significance of me being, you know, Africa with my wife, and South Africa amongst all these beautiful Black people, Zulu, because it was a Zulu party, you know what I mean? And so like I was just like, oh my God, man, we got Hennessy. And they're like, yeah, Hennessy for $1. And so like even the dude was like, I kept asking him, I was like, are you sure it's $1? Like he's like, yes, it's $1. I'm like I was like, no, are you sure? Like there's no like, you know, like I don't want to make the exchange rate, whatever. He's like, no, it's $1, American dollar. You know, like American dollar. Like give me $1 and I'll give you this cup of Hennessy. And I watched him pour it.
The exchange rate.
Yeah, I watched him pour it, and I was like looking like, no, he's gonna really give me this Hennessy for $1. But I mean, come on, man. Come on. It was one of the blackest moments of my life. Yeah, I was like, give me this Hennessy, man. I was, you know, it was a great moment.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. That's what's up.
All right, next question.
So obviously jiu-jitsu guy. Who's your favorite martial artist of all time?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Don't say Steven Seagal.
Oh God. Oh man.
Kareem in Game of Death.
Oh, that's a really good question. Like, so before jujitsu, I didn't get into stuff. So I know this is
Sure.
rapid fire, but like before jujitsu, I didn't really follow martial arts that much. But
Yeah,
like
that's
now,
fair.
I've kind of like taken a crash course, and I would have to say like if you're just talking pure martial arts ability, like who's the best as far as skills, grappling, striking, whatever, I have to say John Jones. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you know, even though I mean I know he has some problematic, stuff in his past with the doping and all this stuff, but when you just look at a dude who can wrestle, who can strike, who can like, jujitsu, he can submit you in every single way, John Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that John Jones Nagano fight if that ever happens. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
that'll be crazy. But yeah, that's my I would have to say he's probably my favorite martial artist.
All right. Last question is the most important one. You ready?
All right, let's do it.
What does GOMAB stand for? Gotta answer, bro. Camera's on you.
Gorillas, orangutans, monkeys, apes, and baboons. That's what it stands for. It stands for go make another baby. That's what it stands for. That's what it stands
Oh, wow.
for. Yeah. That's some alpha sigma thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, if the alphas and sigmas unite, we can eat all the chicken.
We
Drink
can.
all the Hennessy and eat all the pig's feet, bro. You know what I mean? I got
all
love.
love.
Yeah, I got all, man. When I remember when we were in college, we used to, beef with this and that. But now I'm like, I see somebody who's Greek. I'm like, you black, you doing a good thing. I'm like, it's all love, man.
It's funny how the mentality changes from
Yeah.
undergrad to grown man years, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because undergrad, I was like getting in fights and like,
Motherfuckers beef, like fraternity beef.
Yeah, like it's like,
It was crazy.
Nowadays I'm like, see friendly jokes. I'm like, you're alpha, you're sigma, whatever.
This generation soft.
Oh man. Yeah, man. I got stories, man. I'm third generation, so I got stories. Now, what my dad and my granddaddy did, my granddaddy pledged Howard in 1929.
Bro.
So, them boys, that's a whole other conversation.
It's a different,
Yeah, that's a whole other.
The old processes when motherfuckers are above ground and all. It's fascinating shit.
Yeah, it's fascinating shit. You know what I mean?
Cool. All right. Well, look, man, this was a lot of fun. We really appreciate you joining.
Absolutely.
Don't ever downplay how much you actually do. You are a true, like I said, true Renaissance man, and I remain, fascinated by pretty much everything you put out. So congratulations on the new EP. Why don't you go ahead and run through your socials and plug the album again?
Okay.
Go ahead and drop that on us.
So sounds good. So y'all can follow me at ClassicBeatz with a Z, ClassicBeatz on Instagram. You can follow me at I am ClassicBeatz with a Z on Twitter. You can follow me at I am ClassicBeatz on what's the other one? TikTok. My new my wife has me doing TikToks now. That's the whole.
You got to be on TikTok, man. That's the hottest platform.
Yes, it's a dope platform. And my new album called Almost Senegal will be dropping. We'll just say May 27th or May 29th, depending on when they upload my stuff. And the new single, it's available on all digital outlets under my producer name, which is ClassicBeatz with a Z at the end and all one word. And it's available on all digital outlets on May 29th. The single Fela's Flute is available now. So it's been a pleasure talking with y'all, man. And Zane, that hookah's looking serious, man. You looking like your boy over there talking.
Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown. I can't wait to check out this Kwame Brown segment. I hope I didn't spoil it, but that's gonna be crazy. That's gonna be crazy.
Absolutely.
But it's
there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Minnis, aka ClassicBeatz. Thank you again for hanging with us, bro, man. Have a good night. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
For sure.
Right, all right. That's some real solid stuff right there, man. I mean, every time one of our guests leave the show, I feel like I ain't done shit with my life.
Oh, dog. Especially.
Like having midlife.
Especially tonight.
Feel bad.
Man. My God. Big ups to Jason Minnis. The fun stuff is over, kids. Now it's time to get real fucking morbid. Time to talk some Wizards.
Time to finish my drink.
and open gym. Let's get to it, man. Oh man, the Washington Wizards. I got a song to dedicate to
the New
Washington
Amsterdam
Wizards.
is coming out.
Oh, the Washington Wizards, man. Let the tears flow. The Wizards. Sing that shit, Club Nouveau. Yeah.
Dog.
Listen, the Wizards got their asses handed to by the Celtics in the first playing game last night. I mean, they seem to have a grasp on the game, even while they were struggling for much of the first half. Beal and Westbrook had a terrible start, combining for 2 and 9 from the field in the first quarter. Beal picked it up in the second quarter. Team led by as many as 8. Then that shit shrunk to 2 by halftime, and then everything went to complete shit. Neil, you got your drink poured. Tell us what the fuck happened.
Man, so first of all, I'm going to preface with this. With now they have to play Indiana on Thursday at home, and they're fucking up my vacation plans. I was supposed to be out of town, not worried about nothing. And they're like, oh, yeah, Neil, you got to be at Capital One Arena Thursday night. I'm like, damn. But so, you
better
Scotty
tell Beal
Brooks,
on the next Zoom call.
man, really, man, can you wrap this shit up earlier? But who knows? They may be playing a long IQ game, but Scotty Brooks strikes again, and it's at this point really almost comical with some of his decision making. They're guarding Jason Tatum with their 6'3" and under club, pretty much. Ish Smith, Russell Westbrook, and Bradley Beal with a bum hamstring is trying to guard one of the just most gifted and all around scorers in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
And what do you get with that? 50. Obviously Rui Hachimura being in foul trouble hurts. Denny Avdia just being another long body, not being out there, that hurts.
Right.
But still, you let a team that doesn't have Jaylen Brown, let Jason Tatum just go off on you like that? Like, Scott says, oh, we tried a bunch of things and nothing worked. No, man, you didn't try any damn adjustments. There was no double teams. You watch Bradley Beal get harassed, and for the past 2 years, right? Every NBA coach throws the kitchen sink at Bradley Beal. Maybe you could go pick up some things and apply that against, Jason Tatum. And it just never happened. And Celtics just piped them in the second half.
So it's weird. What I thought the turning point of the game is when Brad picked up a charge on a last second heave to end the first half. It was such a fucking really random call. And I'm not gonna lie, I knew all along they would have problems with Tatum. There's no one there to possibly put in front of him. I thought maybe Rui, but obviously, like you mentioned, Rui got in foul trouble. They lost, was it Robert Williams? They lost him early in the game.
Even Marcus Smart turned an ankle.
Yeah, and I thought he was out too, but he came right back. So even with, the teams being kind of equally challenged on both sides, I thought we would find an advantage somewhere, but the game was called really tight. Neither team really shot that well from the floor, but I think a lot of things got exposed here. I think I guess Gafford got in foul trouble. Is that correct? And he wasn't available.
It was ridiculous.
So with the front court being in foul trouble, that led to Alex Len having to play way too many minutes. And I hate to say it, man, but because I like the guy, but I think Davis Bertans has been exposed.
Oh, absolutely.
Pretty much the entire season, right? And he's also playing too many minutes. He's playing, he's having to do more than he frankly can do. And I think he shot 1 for 8 last night, over 6 from 3.
Here's the thing about Bertans, and I've been meaning to mention this. When he got extended, or when he got signed for that 5-year, $80 million contract, were the Wizards under the impression that it was going to be John Wall dishing him the ball? Because we all know John Wall is the number 1 3-point assist man in the league. He's been that.
He gets people paid there. Marshall Webster, Trevor Ariza.
The corner threes. Exactly.
Otto.
I feel like the Wizards knew how one-dimensional Bertans is, because he really is. He can't do jack shit.
He can't do anything.
He's not making his
spotting
threes.
up for a 3.
You might as well have me on. You might as well have me on defense instead of his ass.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like the cash that was thrown at him, and this is how I say this, because this is how we felt as a fan base, was like, just wait till Wall comes back and Bertans gets to play with Wall. Because he didn't get to play with him last year either. I feel like the Wizards had the same mindset and throwing all that cash at him under the impression at that time, before the whole summertime shit, all that shit that popped off, and him getting forced to be traded, before all that transpired, they thought this was going to be his guy that was going to get him the ball and threw all that cash at him. Now he doesn't have that, because as much as Russ puts up numbers, we know he doesn't move the ball move an offense the way Wall does. The
Yeah.
IQ that Wall has, the vision that Wall has, Russ just doesn't have. Russ is just a dynamic, aggressive player. He's going to get his numbers one way or the other. I don't think that's beneficiary for a guy like Davis Bertans.
Speaking of Russ, he looked really bad last night. I mean, we have to be
Very
honest
bad.
about that too. I got on Twitter. I woke up in the middle of the night and just, I guess my better judgment checked Twitter and the Westbrook.
I just see you waking up in a cold sweat
Yeah.
after a 50 bomb. By
This was
Jason
like
Tatum.
this was like the night Trump got elected. Like I got up in the middle of the night and I saw the text. I was like, oh fuck. Like, here we go. But yeah, he looked he looked bad. He looked bad, and you know, I guess we'll get into the Pacers game, but the only optimism I have is that we really can't get too much worse than we were last night. It just hurts to get blown out like that on the national stage, and we just do not do well in Boston, period. I mean, it's just a bad history there, especially in the playoffs.
Right. And I just think one
nightmares
thing
of
about
Kelly
the playoffs,
Olynyk.
yeah, and one thing by the playoffs is that coaching gets exposed so much, and especially in a 7-game series, good coaches will start dancing around you. And Zane, I mean, you and I have been watching basketball for a long time. It's how we fell in love. A good number of those games that we watched were Scott Brooks coaching OKC, and I remember we used to laugh and joke about how basic he was even then. The lack of creativity, the ferocity, the lack of ferocity in his demeanor, the Danny Tanner of coaches, so to speak, right? And nothing's changed.
That's an insult to Danny Tanner.
Well, call it what you will. But you being a fan of X's and O's and watching the game so closely, I mean, it goes without saying that the way Scott Brooks coaches and the way he gets exposed, he can't survive past this year.
Yeah, so I haven't watched a lot of Wizards games this year, and I don't pretend to. But I'm a pretty quick study. So, just in watching them in their winning streaks and kind of seeing how they're able to score, I see a lot of guys getting involved, a lot of guard penetration, a lot of kind of full court buckets in terms of, Ish Smith has the ball, Rui Hachimura, oh, there's a lane, I'm going to drive in, I'm going to make a layup. Russell Westbrook, there's some space in there, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get an easy bucket. Just a lot of space, and last night's game, you could see the big difference is they were prepared for that. They were prepared to pack the paint and make the Wizards beat them from outside.
And
they
that
were
didn't
able
happen.
to double down. Yeah, they were able to double down.
Fucking shot 3 for 21. Yeah,
terrible.
They were able to double down and get back to the shooters, and they weren't scared of those shooters driving after recovering, right? And you're thinking that something's going to change. There's going to be some half court sets, some sort of creativity, to get Beal into his spots, to do something with Russell Westbrook. I mean, it's just funny. Like during these winning streaks, I turn on the radio and it's just callers calling in about Russell Williams, blah, 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 like all-time great, like all-time, like point guard, like ranking him and shit. And I'm just like, where's this going? Like, we knew this episode was coming. I'm not saying he had a horrible game or he cost them the game. I'm not saying that. But, like, when you pack the paint and there's nowhere for him to go, it's just there's really no backup plan, right? And the coach should be able to put his players in a position to succeed, right? Regardless of who they have, right? Beal is a very talented player, obviously. I mean, he's struggling with some injuries. Russell Westbrook has some great strengths, and when the going gets tough and a coach is able to game plan and look at film and say, this is what the Wizards are doing well. They're able to get some easy transition buckets. They're able to get some layups, and they're able to get some threes. Well, let's make them shoot some mid-range shots, because other than Beal, who the hell is doing it, right?
Right.
Ish Smith had
Rui
a
gets
little bit of
his
success.
he gets his 2 or 3 mid-range shots a game, and then he disappears.
Beal's mid-range was off all night.
Yeah, and then to Abdul's point, like the difference between somebody like John Wall and Russell Westbrook passing the ball. I mean, Westbrook will have 15, 16 assists, but John Wall is the kind of guy when he drives and he passes you the ball, it's right in your fucking mitts, man. It's right in your fucking mitts, and you're ready to shoot, right? And Beal and Westbrook, although they can pass the ball, it's not the same thing, right? So maybe I'm not sure what they envision, but I mean Bertrand, I mean to be the third guy, I mean the word exposed is the perfect word. I feel like Bertrand's is like around a campfire and he's telling his nightmare.
You better say his name right, Bertrand.
Yeah, Bertrand. Well, who cares at this point, man? Who cares? He's gonna get the fuck out of here, right? I mean, he's basically around a campfire and he's telling his friends about this recurring nightmare he has where he's on the basketball court and he's exposed butt naked and realizes all he can do is shoot threes. But that's the fucking reality, right? Like there's nothing else.
There was a play yesterday where he had cut to the basket and two guys went at Raul Neto, and Berton starts trailing way to the 3-point line. Raul tries to dump it in for a layup, and he's out.
Yeah, he's like, what? Yeah,
turnover.
Oh, that's the worst when you play pickup ball and the dude who has like a layup lane, he just fucking takes 4 steps back to the 3-point line. What the fuck are you doing, man? Like, let's get some easy buckets, dog. So
Bertans is Kyle Korver for the Hawks a couple of years ago, but we're just not as good as the Hawks. So he's having to do a lot
worse
more.
than Kyle Korver. Like Kyle Korver was buckets back.
The point is like Kyle Korver has a
there.
very narrow lane. He had a very narrow lane of things that he was expected to do.
Exactly.
When you see, I mean, when you look at Bertans getting switched at the top of the key, it's like,
anytime Jason Tatum got matched up on him, he was like, "Ooh, this is even better than the 6'3" guard."
It's so painful to watch because he can't move at all. Yeah,
right. But I'm gonna bring this point home with Scott Brooks. But you made a very strong point, nailed on the head, Zane. Where you get exposed no matter how good your stars are. If the other team makes adjustments, like you said, packing the paint, right? And it doesn't matter if you have Russell Westbrook. It doesn't matter if you have Larry Bird or whoever the fuck it is, right? If the other team is game planning against you, your stars aren't going to be able to do shit unless you change your strategy and put them in the best position for them to overcome whatever those adjustments are.
Yeah.
And Scott Brooks can't do that.
Yeah.
He can't do that.
I mean, for me, I imagine somebody asking Scott Brooks and him being like, well, Bradley Beal is great and Russell Westbrook is great and blah, blah. Like, look, there's a lot. There's
exactly what he says. That's where it ends with him. Yeah.
It's fucking bullshit, though, because there's a handful of code breakers in the league, and there's a good amount of code breakers historically throughout the league. But a 6'4" shooting guard who excels in the mid, you know what I'm saying? Like, Tatum can break a code, right? He's 6. He has some height. He has
6'9".
Yeah, 6'9". I mean, he can create those shots. But when, like Neil said, the 6'3", an under group, same thing on defense, the same thing on offense. They're going to be limited, right? The less space they have, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be even tougher for them to get their shots off. And Westbrook can't shoot. I mean, that shot he can't, where he drove into like the mid-range area and just like, there's no, like, he's just like throwing the ball up there and it hits off the side of the backboard. And I'm just like,
yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, Presbeluski gonna crack that code. Russell Westbrook not crack that code.
Scott Brooks was absolutely working his freaking talking points last night post game. He was like, he probably called Jason Tatum a future MVP twice. He probably talked about, we worked so hard to be able to earn this home game now against the Pacers. Like, dude, you just blew the fucking game against a team that doesn't even have Jaylen Brown. Like, stop trying to make excuses and put a positive spin on things. You guys shit the bag this time, and now you got to deal with the consequences.
I mean, they weren't able to like expose Kemba either, right? Like, a really good coach would expose Kemba's defense and put him in positions where he'd be very vulnerable, like he was last year. I mean, Nick Nurse just put a fucking Kemba Walker in a spin cycle every damn play, right? But Scott Brooks, no, it's beyond him.
The only thing the Wizards can hope for, because the Pacers absolutely drubbed the Hornets.
I was just gonna get into that now. The Pacers, beat the fucking brakes off of Charlotte,
destroyed them,
drop 144.
And obviously, the last couple times that the Wizards have played the Pacers in early May, they didn't have Malcolm Brogdon, but still they beat the Pacers 3-0 this season. And Russell Westbrook put up freaking video game numbers in that first game: 35, 21, 14. Second game, 14, 24, 21, 24 assists, 21 rebounds. He had more assists and rebounds than points. And then last game, to top it all off, a 33-point triple-double with 19 rebounds, 15 assists.
Yeah, the Pacers are really well-rounded.
When they're healthy.
Players all across the board. Jamal, I was going to ask you, I mean, they dropped 144 last night. And they got players who can score at will at any given point. McDermott, Sabonis, Brogdon, Batez, TJ McConnell,
Goga.
How do the Wizards stack up against that?
So, I mean, the season record is one thing, but and in Indiana, I mean, let's be honest, they had some turmoil late in the season. They seem to be getting it together at the right time. Some of those guys seemed like they had turned on the coach, and then the injury issues and all that stuff. But I always said, and I've been saying, I had a feeling that I was a little pessimistic about the Wizards winning in Boston. So I said, if they fall back and play Indiana, it's extremely difficult to beat a team 4 times.
Yeah.
And Indiana's probably relishing this matchup to finally get their comeuppance against the Wizards, at this particular time.
Bertans even said that shit after the game. He was like, it's hard to beat a team 4 teams. And I was like, oh, fuck, the excuse is already rolling in.
Yeah. I mean, you see it already. I feel, I don't feel super optimistic about it. I feel about 50-50 again. And I feel less optimistic, obviously, because it's very clear that Brad is just nowhere near healthy. You know, when you see a guy, I mean, he's got the sleeve on, he's limping up the court sometimes. I mean, he's not exploding.
The first quarters have been bad. He is
really bad,
stiff as anything.
Yeah, really bad.
No lift
so
on the shot.
Right.
That's what they gave him in that game against the Charlotte Hornets. I heard he might have got a little shot at halftime.
Look, man, whatever he needs. So at this point, I mean, I don't feel great about the game. And it's just bad because the Wizards postseason basketball has just been like the bane of our existence as long as we've been on this earth. But yeah, I don't know. I guess the only thing, like I said, that we have going for us is
there's no Jason Taylor.
Like the Wizards playoff experience is like if you watch Game of Thrones for the first time, but you know how it's going to end. Like you know it's going to end shitty. Imagine Game of Thrones and knowing the ending. Right,
that's a terribly
that's how
depressing
Wizards
analogy.
Basketball is. It's like you're watching it just because you have to watch it, but you
have
know
to watch it. Yeah,
it's gonna end nowhere.
It only ends one way with pain and agony.
So I feel about 40% optimistic about this, even with the quote
so it already
home
went
game.
In the past 2 minutes. It went from 50-50 to now only 40% optimistic.
Because I'm thinking again,
falling faster than crypto.
I look at like the team goes as Brad and Rusko, right?
Sure.
And again, will they do as poorly as they did last night? I don't think so. But if Brad's not Brad, if he's not pushing 30, I don't see how they can win. Right. Indiana's confidence is way up. They were talking shit during them, after they was scoring buckets. I mean, they looked fucking into it. Like I said, they're gonna be hungry for this game. So I don't feel super great about it.
But I'm not reading into anything. I'm just saying body language. I actually saw during the timeout. I think it was Ish Smith was giving a very impassioned speech.
Yeah,
which I love.
It's fine.
Yeah, of course it's fine. I'm just
Ish
like
Smith. If there's anybody that was
he was saving their asses yesterday.
He's been consistent. He's
Ishmael
a consistent positive for the team. So I can see where that passion came from on that sideline for that moment because he's put that out on the floor every night.
Yeah. I mean, just my thing with Russ. I'm not shitting on Russ. I'm just saying, like, when the going's good and the energy's crazy, right? But like, you're running that hot. If you're losing, that energy can be not a downer, but it can be, you know, what I'm saying, like very passive.
Defeating.
Yeah, I'm in a group chat with some guys on Instagram. Two Rockets fans in there. And they said, Jamal, congratulations on your first Russell Westbrook, playoff dud, basically. So, it's a lot of what was on Twitter last night, like, stat hungry in the regular season, when it's game time. I mean, Russ is leaving his feet and making decisions when he was in the air. Like, it's just bad.
Yeah.
He does. Yeah. It's crazy. Like I was talking about earlier, like the spacing, like they were playing as if nobody was sitting in the paint waiting for them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They were running full speed like nobody was there, and they're just running motherfuckers over. I'm just like, this can't be the plan, man. Like,
So
they gotta hope for something. They gotta hope either Brad pops off, they have a good 3-point shooting night finally. They hope that Russ goes for 35 and a triple double. Like they need one of those things to happen, otherwise they're gonna be staying at home and not even thinking that they can get to Philly.
Right. Well, Wizards Pacers.
Don't have to win one game, right?
Correct.
This is the elimination
you're in
game.
the 76ers series.
Yep. All right. When's that game?
All right.
I know you're about to say that. But.
Right.
So they play the Pacers tomorrow Thursday night, 8
8
p.m. at Capital One Arena. And then if they win that game, they'll play against the 76ers on Sunday, game 1 in Philadelphia.
So on Sunday?
Right.
Okay. If they make it, that's good for Brad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, there you have it. Let's see what happens. We're going to keep the gym segment right here on the Wizards because most of you know earlier this week, an old and shamed, tormented soul of past Wizards lore has risen from beneath the mountainous ashes of endless humiliation.
He's in our intro music.
He's the direct cause of our intro music.
Scrub.
He's
He
been
can't
dominating.
play.
He's been dominating the Instagram Live airwaves this week. Kwame Brown, fellas. This motherfucker.
Brown.
This motherfucker is on some Omar Little shit right now, just on an absolute rampage against his enemies. This motherfucker's got a hit list, throwing clapbacks at some of his most infamous critics and shit talkers, specifically Stephen A. Smith, Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson. He's been responding to anybody on Twitter that mentions his name. Jameel Hill caught a little burn. Bro, there's so many different IG videos that have been scattered and recorded. I don't even know if I've heard them all, but I'm going to share some of the audio from his initial Instagram video, the one that popped off the whole shit.
Boy.
Oh, indeed. I'm gonna work
Yo,
them boys.
yo,
Sweet
that's
Jesus.
that sinister laugh.
Oh, fuck. Fuck you so much.
And we thought
Oh,
the Stephen A. Smith's beef started with John Wall and moved on to Russell Westbrook. It went deeper than that, Wizards fans. 20 years ago.
So my man Kwame just airing out grievances, decades old, and throwing shots at everybody. I mean, he was going in. I'm most impressed by Kwame Brown's articulation, just because I never heard him speak before.
Never heard his voice
Right.
before.
Never heard his voice
before,
right?
the whole time he was here.
And being, I mean, he caught the burn at the age of 19 upon being drafted. Michael Jordan was the what was he, the GM at that point, and
I thought Jordan was playing
in.
at that point. Was he
he
playing?
was playing. He was a player owner.
I think he made the pick and then went down to the court, right?
Yes, yeah. So he was up in his ear and lighting him on a medium flame from the jump.
Right.
And then of course the Stephen A. Spiel, Matt Barnes. They made the skit you were showing us, Zane. What was that skit?
Oh my
the
God.
onion
That's
skit.
the Kwame Brown,
Kwame Brown draft. Oh my God.
Darko Milicic is a 0, but Kwame Brown is an absolute cancer.
But this motherfucker didn't just stop there. I'm gonna play a few more clips because it's just worth hearing and laughing together about.
Yeah.
I want to do that with you guys. Here he is going at Matt. Here he is going at Matt Barnes.
Hey, Matt Barnes done. Stupid motherfucker. Woo. But
He sounds
He
like
said-
Pimp C.
he said
sounds
you
like
should
Pimp
be
C.
Drake.
I don't know why.
he said you should be Drake. You the opposite of Drake.
Yeah.
So Matt
somebody's
Barnes
girl.
Matt Barnes apparently responded to him today. He said, "Come on the
Yeah.
show, come on all the smoke." But even that was a little condescending.
It's just
Jamal,
funny
you
because the Gilbert Arenas thing where he dropped the thing where he's like, I'm not fucking with him, bro. Like I'm not fucking with dude. Like
oh yeah,
I seen this
Crazy.
man beat some mans down in the
Yeah.
bar in the club. I ain't fucking with this
And-
man
and
for the life of me.
Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes are with the shits, and like their
Always.
energy
They
and
are.
their responses was very like diplomatic.
It was.
Funny because
It's a good
like,
word.
they are with the shits.
It reminds
and
me
they're-
of like when 6ix9ine goes on one of his IG or video rants, and then like
Yeah.
Lil Reese replies and was like, "Fuck you, man! Like we'll
Yeah,
just
exactly.
shoot you when you come to Chicago.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you internet
Yeah.
dude. Yeah,
I came to Chicago.
yeah.
oh man,
Man, so if we
Go
want to
ahead.
take it back, like looking at Kwame's career, right? He always reminded me of we see this every now and then. There's guys who are athletes
Mhm.
that you could tell never really had to work hard to
Mhm.
get where they were. Kwame always struck me as one of those guys.
Mhm.
Physically, he was just the beast, but I
Gifted.
think I don't think he didn't seem like he was really dedicated in the workroom. He didn't have any hunger. He was just big as fuck, right? And just overpowered dudes. The same when I think of like Gerald Green, right? Gerald Green's an athletic freak. I thought Gerald Green was gonna be Tracy McGrady. His athleticism kept him in the league. He wasn't the smartest basketball player,
Yeah.
but he could just jump and he could
Yeah,
just
vertical,
do,
yeah.
he could hustle, right? So Kwame got dropped into a very unfortunate situation. Dula mentioned he's first overall pick, and you are dropped into this situation where you're playing for Michael Jordan and getting chewed the fuck up every day. he had this very embarrassing. Remember the post story written about him how he wasn't washing. He didn't know how to wash clothes. He was asking for French dressing.
Couldn't get through DC roundabouts.
Couldn't get around a traffic circle. All terrible shit, right? And he never really, he had obviously breakout games every now and then, but he just wasn't all there. So for him, and you can see in his videos, his crowning achievement is the fact that he made a lot of money, right? He made it out of a household with 8, was it 7 or 8 siblings or something like that?
Wow.
And this is what Charlemagne talked about. We mentioned Charlemagne. Charlemagne talked about how fucked up his brothers are. One brother like beat and like beat a girlfriend and tried to bury her alive, and then another brother's in jail for murder, and another one's got an assault and all that stuff. So he's got some real shit he's dealing with, right? And the fact that he wasn't good, even though at times he thought he was, didn't really matter to him because he again helped his mom. And he kept saying, "I got my mom a house when I was 19 years old." Like, how many people can say that?
Exactly.
Sure.
Right.
But these video rants, I ain't gonna lie, I followed him on IG because I was curious because everybody's sharing this shit now, right? And he went live like 3 times a day.
Now
it's
different
not
outfit
even
each time.
Yeah. Now it's not even entertaining because he went at Jamel Hill. First of all, he did a preview of going live about Jamel Hill and did a little video teaser, but called her Jamal Hill, like he fucked her name all up.
Oh my!
In the caption of the video,
He pulled on Abdullah.
Yeah, it's become like a punchline now, and it's like, are you trying to sell some shit? But now he got T-shirts out, like my mom is cooking T-shirts, like click the link in my bio type shit. It's like, come on, dude. He misinterpreted, like, you tell somebody choosing violence. It's not meant to be literal, but he took that the wrong way. That's why he went to Jamel Hill, because she said, Kwame chose violence today, and he thought that. Oh, she's talking about a black man that's trying to kill. Like, nah, no, you completely misread that shit. Like, are you on the far reaches of the internet? You don't even know.
Jamel had a funny tweet.
Yeah,
she was like,
meant to be. It was.
I
funny.
hope I have never wronged this man ever before in my life.
He completely misread it. Next thing you know, he landed on his bed doing a live video, and I'm like, all right, man. So, I don't think he's gonna go on all the smoke. I think he's in a comfortable place doing these videos from a distance, and
he's smoking
people
his
eating it
already.
up. Yeah, I mean,
he actually challenged Stephen A to an actual fight.
It's just dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb.
Yeah, hold on.
Mutual
combat.
Mutual combat.
Kwame sounds like
Yo, this motherfucker got sound bites. Y'all motherfuckers got me fooled with this fuck shit.
He sounds like a fucking death row. He like a narration of a death row album in like '92. Just an OG that's like, wearing a white beat on the porch and shit.
Hey, yo, bitch, my name is Sam Snead. You better recognize.
Would have fit in great with the 2017 Wizards.
Hey, is that Snoop Dogg? Is that Snoop Dogg?
I saw somebody said Kwame was the only wizard that went hard last night.
You have a point there.
Yeah, hey, it'll flame out. I think I've seen
of course,
artists and shit go crazy. I don't know if y'all know Jaguar Wright. She used to sing with the Roots. She went crazy like a few months ago and just went live every day and it was bashing like fucking Questlove and like who the fuck goes at Questlove? Like this motherfucker.
Yeah, it's like the nicest motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah, it's like one of the lovable principal and shit.
It's like a fucking big teddy bear.
Yeah, and come to find out she was going through some shit personally. I mean, Kwame might be in the same boat. I don't know. Like I said, it's a fad. Like he's going over the top with it now, but he's trying to seize the moment because he's slinging merch now. So
he put some fear. He put some fear in people's hearts. Like some people was just like, I don't know what to tweet about Kwame Brown. You gonna find my shit, make a video about me.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. Hey, the thing, the shit is getting a little saturated at this point. I mean, the next move might be Kwame actually challenging somebody, one of these dudes, to square up against him in the octagon.
I'm about to say you're gonna be one of these undercards.
Get another one of these knockoff MMA bouts between non-traditional fighters. Can you imagine Stephen A and Kwame?
That's not gonna happen.
Kwame Brown would slug
Stephen Jackson. Yeah, I know. Just for the comedic value, I just wanted to bring that up. That would be some funny ass shit. I would like him to see him scrap against Stephen Jackson. So make it happen, Kwame. Let's do it.
Spicy, as Bradley Beal says.
Yeah, but for now, listen, we're gonna shift gears real quick. Zane's got some real MMA stuff to talk about. We got an update on Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, which apparently is not happening until Fury completes his trilogy with Deontay Wilder. Zane, is that happening?
Yeah,
Kwame Brown, the undercard.
It's just a prime example of why I'm here for Jake Paul and Floyd Mayweather fights and all this fuck shit. It's just because boxing, it's so damn hard to get two fighters in their prime at their apex to fight, you know? The Fury Joshua thing has been going on forever. And even though we had a date confirmed, it still didn't seem like it was concrete, right? Like Fury posted it August 14th, blah, blah, blah. Joshua didn't put anything out. There's no official flyer. There was nothing fucking put out. It was like it's just some makeshift shit, right? And then Deontay Wilder, who basically, you know, after he got knocked out, was embarrassed, fired one of his trainers. He disappeared, you know, went under a rock. And then all of a sudden, now when we're getting some sort of traction on this Fury Joshua thing, all but confirmed, this arbitration comes through, and it basically says that Fury is entitled to a rematch, and it's a requirement that it's a rematch, and that rematch has to happen before September 15th. And in the era of where, you know, boxers fight once, twice a year, this is a big problem, because if he has to fight him before September 15th, that August bout is not going to happen. He's not going to fight, you know, Joshua in July. Yeah. He's not going to fight him next month. You know, Sugar Ray Robinson fought about 30 times a fucking year. These guys fight once, twice a year. So now it's looking like what I predict is going to happen. I mean, if this holds up, is that we're going to get a Wilder Fury fight in July, right? Now, I believe Allegiant Stadium has been reserved. Because basically how it works is, I mean, booking a venue is a very difficult thing, especially with how many sporting events happen and concerts and all sorts of stuff. A little bit less so in COVID, but generally speaking. So, you know, there's been rumors or news flying around that Allegiant Stadium has been booked for July 14th for some sort of boxing event. So they're anticipating that the Fury and Wilder fight would happen then, and Joshua would fight Alexander Usyk in July also. Usyk is a great fighter. It will be a great fight, but he's very undersized. He was a cruiserweight. He's a very skilled fighter, very dangerous challenge for Joshua. But at the end of the day, he's fighting a heavyweight, and that's going to be tough for him. And then, you know, the problem is here. What if Fury loses, right? What if Joshua loses? I mean, this fight, pretty much you lose all of the luster with this fight, all the allure. You lost it when Joshua lost. I mean, that completely fucked shit up for a year and a half. Joshua came back and won his next two fights, and now, you know, there's a chance he could lose again. You know, there's a chance Fury could lose again. I know, Jamal, you had mentioned you're not really interested in the Fury Wilder fight. I'm not as interested in Fury Joshua, but I'd like to see it only because, you know, when a man's been knocked out the way Wilder was, and well, he's been embarrassed. You know, he's been a meme. He's been, you know, part of viral video now. You know, I would love to see those press conferences. I would love to see a lot of the debate. And there was a lot of stuff about Fury tampering with his gloves. I don't know if you saw these videos. Like,
I remember that. Yeah.
Which looked really weird, honestly. But you would think that would be able to have been proven if there was some sort of tampering. And if there was tampering, then you're talking about Wilder's trainers would have had to have been on it, right? Because they checked the fighter's glove. The referees would have to have been on it. So, and this is just boxing in a nutshell, man. It's always some sort of drama, and it's just hard to get these fighters to fight.
It's especially tough to get. I mean, the heavyweight division is just not. It's a shade of what we used to see, kind of growing up. And you know, one of the reasons I can't remember what happened with Wilder after the last Fury fight. I know, like you said, he disappeared for a while, but you know, I just found like the time of this whole thing is curious. As soon as something gets scheduled, all of a sudden he's galvanized and his camp is ready to kind of interject and, you know, kind of jump back in. And I thought the last fight, you know, really exposed Wilder as a slugger rather than a boxer. He got outboxed, he got outsmarted. He just looked overmatched this entire time. So my appetite for another Fury Wilder fight is just not there. And I'm, you know, I'd like to, I don't know if Wilder's come out. I know he's not doing press yet, but if there's anything that's leaked about or any feedback from him on where he, you know, where his head is around this whole thing. But I just find it unfortunate, like you said, because it's just so hard to get, good, especially heavyweight fights on the calendar. It's just it's
I mean,
almost
two
impossible.
things stand out. One, after he lost, obviously he fired Jay Diaz, who was his trainer, who threw in the towel. One of his trainers who threw in the towel.
Right.
Which he might have saved his life. I mean, for all we know, right?
Yeah.
But boxers want to go out on their shield, quote unquote. And then there was all these cryptic videos. So while there was, I don't know if I sent you guys this video. It's like him in like in a dark room, and it's like this eerie music in the background. He was like, "The gloves were tampered with. What came out in the dark will be brought to the light, and you, Tyson Fury, will come." Like it was fucking weird, like sort of like mental breakdown shit. The good news kind of is that Wilder training videos have leaked, and he looks pretty good, but obviously that's just training, right? I mean, he looks a lot better.
Yeah.
But when you get in that ring, man, it's like all that shit goes out the window when you got.
Didn't he also blame the weight of his costume as something that might have affected?
He said that might have bothered him. But in the era of the internet, right, just like Billy Joe Saunders, when he quit on his stool against Canelo, a viral video came out the day after about him talking about another fighter who quit and was criticizing him and saying, "I don't care if my eyes are broken, like I can't see. I don't care if my eye sockets are broken," which is what happened to him.
Right.
Saying, I don't care if I can walk. I'm going out there and I'm gonna blah blah blah. Right. Same thing with with Wilder. A video came out from his Joe Rogan interview where he was talking about how he spars in 45-pound vests, weight vests, right, which is equal to the 40-pound vest he wore coming out to the ring. So that's some bullshit too. I mean, we would think, right? I think it's more mentally. I think once he knocked down Fury in that first fight, and Fury got back up like the fucking Undertaker. And he realized
shit was incredible.
I can't do anything else with this guy. Like,
yeah,
I think
that was
mentally,
it. Yeah,
that really got him. And that whole ring walk, I think he was thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah, true.
It's insane. I mean, the way he got up from that knockdown and it ends up in a draw for Wilder.
When he clearly
like I commend him for even wanting a second fight. I obviously at that point you want a second fight, and he gets destroyed. It is interesting to hear you guys as avid boxing fans talk about the Fury Wilder match, because it is sad, because it is on paper such a good matchup, and the first two fights were such good fights too. Even the second one where Wilder got destroyed in 7 rounds. The first
was entertaining.
Was epic. It was entertaining. There's a lot of hype.
I mean, Fury licked his blood, right?
Like this barbaric
in that motherfucker's
right?
head here.
yeah. I mean, the dude already just drizzled in fucking blood, and he's licking this shit.
Got charisma, man.
Yeah.
But and I was even thinking, like, it's a trilogy. It's the third fight. The record right now is 1-0-1 in Fury's favor, right? And if Wilder were to win the third match, that makes it a 1-1-1 competition. Does that make you fans uneasy? Like, there's no, or is there too much out?
Fight?
Or is there too much outside noise already around the fight where you just don't give a fuck?
Sure,
that's how it sounds like a little bit too.
I'm kind of the latter camp, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in.
But if Wilder gets fucked up
I don't
again,
get to watch many great boxing fights.
Yeah, go ahead. What?
If Wilder gets fucked up again, is that like if he gets knocked down 3-4 times in the ring? I mean, for me, I'll enjoy it.
Right.
If he gets fucked, he needs to motherfucking leave his country. Like it's over.
I worry though what happens if that happens to him. I worry for his sanity, honestly.
Yeah.
Go to China like NBA players.
Box in China against fucking 5'8" Chinese dudes.
They'll build a statue for him there.
Yeah, build a statue.
That's right.
Just like Stephon Marbury.
Fucking Wilder, Marbury, and fucking Steve Francis.
He a Terp.
Oh man! All right. Well, so you said so initially. I thought it was in September. Fury Wilder happens. You're saying it happens as early as July.
They're saying it, so the arbitration ruled that it has to happen before September 15th.
Oh, okay.
So ideally you'd like to have it in July or August. Both of them fight their guys, so that in November, December, around Christmas time or Thanksgiving time, that's a hot fight time, right? So that's what we're hoping at this point.
All right. Well, Fury Wilder, one way or the other, it's gonna be theater for most of us boxing fans. We look forward to it whenever it happens. And speaking of which, we're gonna put some more. We're gonna talk a little bit more theater coming up next. So I don't think Neil, or Jamal and Zane have watched much TV this week, because I'm the only one on the agenda tonight. We're gonna catch up on season 4 of The Wire. I've
been
actually
watching
finished.
you watching The Wire.
I've been watching. You've been watching me
I've been
watch
over
The
here
Wire. That's
fucking
right.
jerking off to you.
Abdullah's out here trying to pat himself on the back as if he's not how many years late with all of this.
It don't even
that's what
matter
he
at this
does.
point.
That's what he
It
does.
don't even
What are you
matter
gonna
at
do?
this point. It don't even matter.
He's
at this point.
done.
It's a done deal. But we're gonna
El
talk about season
finito.
4. We're gonna talk about season 4 tonight. One thing I'm gonna say about season 4 is that's where I really started to look into the symbolism of kind of the opening scene of the season and how it encapsulates the main theme of the season across. You know what I mean, right? Like season 1, you had McNulty, a cop, getting schooled by a murder witness on the unwritten rules of the street, right? Snot Boogie he had to be in the dice game.
Yeah, this American
season
game.
right. Season 2, you had
America.
McNulty. Season 2, you had McNulty scanning the rivers by the dock, getting caught up in the rich white folks on the boat party, introducing us to a wide spectrum between hurting union folks and working in city workers and the city's elite, right? Season 3, you're going back to the
Spoiler
streets.
alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Sorry, go ahead.
Are we? And I'm trying to be good with it. I think I'm being okay.
I mean, do what you gotta do. You already talked about it last week. Might as well.
Season 3 opening up back on the streets, the falling of the towers, paving the way for Barksdale Stanfield conflict, and now you got season 4, right? The infamous nail gun scene with Snoop.
Beautiful, right?
The infamous nail gun.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I just watched that the other day. It's great.
Her interaction with
the
the store attendant. Kickback,
I seen the snub nose drop plenty of times.
Oh my goodness.
You can go and keep that.
Yeah, you're in that bum like a mother.
and then she goes back. But that infamous nail gun was the nail gun that shut the 22 bodies out of the sight of the rest of the world in those vacants, right?
Crazy.
In between the opening scene and the closing montage, and what I saw was probably the greatest season of television in history, honestly.
Yeah.
The Wire spares no rawness in any moment of the series thus far. Time and again throughout the show, you see constant quarreling and conflicts between the higher ups, and it all comes at the expense of who? The regular people, people on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And season 4 here was tougher to watch because those regular people were who? Kids.
Yeah.
And these kids were getting fucked in one of two ways, right? One way is going back to the nail gun on the streets at the mercy of a merciless drug lord, Marlo Stanfield, who had the capacity to determine somebody's fate just by a mere spoken word.
Yep.
Right.
Awful.
And leading to the 24 bodies that he scattered all over the city. It's like, bruh, I once gave a homeless guy a nickel and a dime because there was nothing else in my pocket, and I felt like shit for the whole night, right? Like I fucked over this homeless guy, right? Like how the fuck do you sleep with yourself knowing 22 fucking bodies?
Yeah.
The blood is on your hands, spread across the fucking citywide morgue. So the other way the kids were getting fucked was through the education system.
School
right?
system.
Education was a big focal point of season 4, and with so much bullshit happening upstream, from the city hall debt to the police department to the school board. Again, who suffers? The kids, right? And the story of season 4 revolves around the boys of the summer, right? These are my sons right here, like all 4 of them. You know, you kind of that's how you look at them. You have Naaman, Michael, Randy, and Dookie, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I read about the show, specifically about how things transpired in season 4, and I'm not trying to give any spoilers, but you see that the kid that you might have been rooting for, or the kid that you hated the most, didn't turn out the way you expected them to, because the luck could fall anywhere at any time, be in the right place at the right time, have the right background, you know. And one other thing that really stood out to me is season 4 really dug into the root of what troubles these streets. At a young age, you see guys like Kennard, a 7-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid, right? And out there like a fucking crime lord, like a drug lord, out there just running shit on the corner. I mean, he's not a lieutenant, but he's acting like one.
Right.
And you see guys like Dookie, who constantly given chances and their responses to it. Michael being pulled from so many different places, from Cuddy to make something out of himself, from his mom to be his his mom, the drug addict. You know, influence him in a certain type of way. Chris and Snoop wanted to recruit him, so on and so forth. It really shed a light on kind of how things transpire from the very beginning, from the foundation of the streets, and how these kids become who they become, who lucks out, who doesn't, who has the chances, who makes the most of them, who doesn't.
Yeah.
That was season 4 for me. It was absolutely poetic, in so many regards. And that's it, man. Like that's all I got to say about season 4. Zane, you've been with me the whole step, every step of the way.
I don't know how you
great
put it in
TV.
Words. Like it's just
it's hard. It's hard.
It's like watching a novel like on TV, and it's like, see, honestly, like not to get too into the weeds, but like season 4 is when like my perspective on everything was when I was watching it. You know, I remember, you know, seeing the marches for Freddie Gray and the protests, and you know, seeing people jumping on fucking cop cars. And I'm not excusing that behavior, but it's like I'm not also trying to make it like seem like a piece of art should have provided me that perspective, but it did, right? Because just watching that ecosystem and watching what David Simon calls the other America really opened my fucking eyes to the point where I was just like, you know, I can't empathize, but I understand. Like when you feel like you have no fucking voice and everything, the system is just designed to just hold you down like that. That's when I tell people like The Wire is like, I'm gonna say it changed my life, but it changed the way I view
change your
lot of what I
perspective.
see.
Yeah,
It changed my perspective on the world.
Right, and I try not to fast forward to season 5, but again, a very important dialogue between Duquan, Dookie, and Cuddy. The outside world, the world outside of Baltimore, was so surreal to them. Like it was like, how do you get there? What does it take to get there?
How do you get to the rest of the world from here?
What does it look like? Yeah, exactly. It's so powerful in that sense, where we talk about open air prisons, and I wanted to mention Israel and Palestine here because I've been meaning to plug this in, but we talk about open air prisons, and for me, it's very hard for people to believe in Black Lives Matter, but not believe in what's going on overseas in Palestine, because it's the same concept, it's the same approach, the same systemic oppression, the open air prisons that we say that so to speak, where, you know, you're completely handcuffed from any sort of basic human rights, electricity, water. I mean, they turn it off and shut it down, turn it on and shut it down at will, the government. It's hard to draw parallels explicitly between the two groups, but you see the parallels, and you've seen both groups of people resonate with one another when bad things happen to them. With George Floyd, Palestinians reached out. When Ferguson happened, Palestinians reached out, and vice versa. It's a world that you have to see it to believe it, or you have to just be human enough to hear about it and understand it and
Human
sympathize
enough.
with it. And
exactly.
you know
What's ironic about that is I went to school in Baltimore with the Morgan State University. And before I started at Morgan, there would be field trips from the DC area up to Baltimore to do what? Everybody went to the Baltimore Harbor, right?
Yeah.
You go to the harbor, you eat some lunch, you get on the bus, you go the fuck back home. And each time I'd visited Baltimore, it was for a trip or some kind of family thing. We never went behind the harbor. And
you ever take a wrong left turn in Baltimore?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't know that side of Baltimore until
there's one side of MLK Avenue, there's one side of the other.
Yeah. Or I was going to Camden Yards, right? And when I went to Morgan for freshman orientation, it was the first time I saw another side of Baltimore. Yeah. And when I started at school, one of my friends I met right off the bat, he's from Baltimore, like straight Baltimore City. He went to Frederick Douglass High School. He had friends that were still in high school. We started at Morgan. And we went to a party downtown, and I was like, what city am I in? Like, I had no idea this other side of Baltimore existed. It was just like another fucking universe. I didn't know that poverty, was what it was. I didn't know that, like I said, poor educational system. I mean, when I joined my fraternity, I was doing, community service in elementary schools. And I was like, to Zane's point, the ecosystem that's set up is, it's a sad state of affairs, right? There's no school choice. There's no parents to kind of pay your way into a private school. You are in this kind of pipeline of, you want to take one path or the other, right? If you're fortunate enough to be, good and, make it to a good school or something like that, then great. But things that should have just as bad as any other major city. And again, that's just not the shit that you see or know about if you don't go that few blocks past the harbor or the touristy type of area. It was a shock to me.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And there's one part of it that we see on the street and with actual people, but like I said, the higher ups, City Hall, the school board, the police department, they don't do much to move the needle either, or to emphasize a point, or to drive something home. In terms of legislature, what have you, policy, everybody's running a personal agenda, and trying to get somewhere where it fits them, and again, at the expense of kids and of actual regular people. So excited to talk about season 5 and kind of wrap it all up next week. I've got a lot of thoughts about just emphasizing more about what we talked about tonight, just kind of wrapping it up in a bow. So we'll leave it at that for theater. We're gonna go ahead and get into Detention and wrap this thing up.
What is going on here?
So in this week's Clown Hall meeting, we've got a few attendees tonight. We're going to start off with Amanda Fisher, a Spanish teacher from New York who sucked a man's nipple during a Zoom lesson. I started to read about this and it just fucking hurt my brain.
I have the article. I'll read the best part.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell is this about, man?
So Zoom, first of all, everybody's still struggling with, I think motherfuckers are over the school year in general.
You're done with it.
School, it wraps up in a few weeks. I know my kid's about to finish up. So she made a mistake, a very bad mistake. But the teacher, this from this Newsweek article, the Zoom video captured the teacher Fletcher engaging in an inappropriate act where Fletcher appeared to suck the nipple of an unidentified topless male. It added the child who saw it identified the student and said during the call she observed Fletcher eating spaghetti and an unidentified shirtless male in her Zoom window background for about 3 minutes, at which point Fletcher then put her mouth on the male's chest. First of all, that's a different kind of kink. I want you to eat that ragu and bless me type of thing.
I need to get married.
But that's all bad. Yeah, I'm sure she's I think they were doing an administrative leave thing, but she's probably lost her job. So the lesson is, keep your mans out the window.
At this point, I'm just thankful I've not had any crazy Zoom experiences with all the.
I know we have been fortunate.
Had to been on.
Yeah,
Like,
you get the dog barking and shit, but I've never seen. If I saw some nipple sucking on.
There have been times, I am running late for what I'm doing. Scott Brooks pregame about to talk. I'm hopping out the shower and shit and be like, this could go south real quick, but
don't lose our credential.
Really?
So speaking of nipple sucking, Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know where I was going with that. Bill Gates hitting the airwaves this week. Not the innocent nerd we all thought he was.
No, not even. Man.
He's a fucking weirdo too. Apparently, used Epstein's estate as a hangout spot to
get away from his wife.
Marriage.
Yeah.
Weirdo.
What's up with that, Jamal?
Oh, man.
Isn't it crazy how the wealthy just live in a different universe from us altogether? Like, if you're mad at your wife or your girl now, you probably just go down, go to another room, pop open the incognito tab, get off, go to sleep or some shit like that. This motherfucker goes to Epstein's, $77 million townhouse in NYC. It's like, it's not exactly the company you want to keep,
Not at all.
Yeah, he said he was happy. He was unhappy for a long time, and then Melinda Gates was using his bills associated with Epstein as kind of that wedge to start the divorce process like years ago. I think they just kind of finalized it, if you will. But
then Melinda was like, "Oh, I see what Mackenzie Scott doing. Oh, okay, we ain't got no problem here. I'm taking half. Let's go."
Yeah, so not a good look if you were rubbing elbows with Epstein and rubbing some other stuff too, possibly.
Weird.
Everybody rubbing elbows with him. It's crazy. So every week it's a different person. It's like, what the hell's going on, dude?
Yeah.
This good talk.
And finally, we're gonna wrap this bitch up with Kemba Walker wearing a "Don't Tread on Me" jacket before the game last night against the Wizards. and the tone deaf ass social media manager for the Celtics who tweets that shit like it's a hot fit.
Yeah.
Obviously that shit got ratioed to the point where the team felt pressure to delete the tweet. But Jamal, man, I mean, you and I have had strong feelings about this symbol and its ignorant adaptation of it by folks and minorities.
Bill's got
right?
something to say.
I was just gonna say real quick, it sounded like Kemba post game had no clue what the fuck he did. So I just want to preface that.
That's
right.
the problem.
But that's exactly that's the problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But his dumbass didn't know.
Yeah, Kemba had a gigantic Gadsden flag on like a windbreaker type of jacket. Says the "Don't tread on me." Here's the thing. I think the Gadsden flag, which obviously was a big thing for the Tea Party movement. When I think of Tea Party, I think of like conspiracy theories and all the bullshit, like Obama was born in Kenya and all that other dumb shit that still kind of lingers around today. But for some reason, like a lot of young black men have adopted that shit. Like I see it on the Virginia license plates of people that I hate to pass judgment. I'm pretty sure they don't know what the fuck is behind it or, what kind of movement was behind it. So the fact that Kemba had it on and didn't know what the fuck he was wearing, not surprising at all. Not surprising at all. But it's perplexing, man. I don't get it. And that whole fit was trash anyway. Fuck Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
Kemba, he thought, I just fucked with the colors. That's the only reason why I hit it up. And then I was like, nah, bro.
I just don't get it. At
educate
this
yourself.
Point,
you got to make sure the people around you are telling you, no, you can't fucking do that shit, bro.
Simple Google, really.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, it's a more prominent thing in the South to kind of, if you drive more Southern and you see some of these like roadside shops selling flags and shit, it's right there. It's up there. All different variations of it. So, I mean, I know, Kemba, you're a New Yorker, you're playing in Boston, but come on, you got to go.
It's just weird. Yeah. Should know
all
better.
right. Well, that's a wrap for us tonight. I don't know what we learned from this colossal waste of time, except for ClassicBeatz. Download ClassicBeatz. Jason,
fuck with Jason's music.
Big shout out to Jason once again for joining us tonight. The Gadsden flag is fucking racist. Stop sporting that shit,
please.
And stick to the incognito tab, man. We got wifey issues, man. Don't escape to some pervert's house.
It's real simple.
It's real simple, man. It's real simple. And that's it. That's the moral of the podcast tonight. For Jamal Smith, for Neil Dalal, for Zane Zaidi, for myself, Abdullah Sharif, PTP, Participation Trophy Podcast. Catch you on the flip side. Up and out.